now that I'm older, I don't really think about it much. I've accepted it, and it's just a thought, but it does come and haunts me sometimes. But it's not as bad as it was when I was 16. So my name is Vanya. I'm 18. I'm a high school graduate now. I just finished my first semester in Montclair State. My major is Family and Child Studies with a concentration in Family Services due to my past. When I was little, it reflected a lot about me. Or when I was around 12, I'll say 12 to 15, it reflected a lot of my behavior. I was very, very sad during those years. The first time it happened, I was napping and I felt a weird feeling. I saw one of my older cousins who I completely trusted. He was touching me and it was something unexpected. I remember shutting my eyes closed because I didn't know what to do. I pretended like I was still sleeping, and footsteps approached and he left. He ran away. I acted like everything was okay. Obviously things weren't okay. I then waited for my parents to get home, and I told my dad because I always felt shut down from my mom. So I didn't tell her, and I told my dad because I figured he would believe me. And he told me I had had a nightmare, in which I did, but it wasn't a nightmare, it was reality. He told me I was lying, he told me I had a bad dream, he told me I was crazy, and it was something unbelievable. How come my father, the man I trusted, not believe me about something like this? Like, why would someone make something up like that? And my grandma was like, oh, maybe she's telling the truth. And he was just like, no, she's lying. And he shrugged it off, and it was never brought up again. Another time it happened, I was at a sleepover with my cousins again. Complete new cousins. I've grown up with them. I still talk to them. I see them every day. We were on the floor, and she turned around to me and she asked me if I had ever kissed a guy. I was only around the age 7, so that was weird because I don't know any little girl who has kissed a guy at age 7. I said no, and she told me a word about sex, and I looked at her as if she was crazy. I was like, I'm like 7 years old, why are you asking me these things? She was like, oh, I'll show you what you have to do in those situations. And she got on top of me, and things furthered up. I didn't know what to do. What was I supposed to do? Scream, yell, not get trusted, like people deny the things that happened to me again, like erase things from my memories. I avoided it, and I never mentioned it again. It was not something I brought up to anyone. It was something in the back of my head. I kept it locked up inside. No one knew about it until I was 16. Yeah. When I was 16, that's when I got told my oldest brother we weren't like fully related, and my mom would always drown me with all her problems and with all these things. So I finally had it one day, and I started crying, and my oldest brother asked me what was wrong, and I was just like, I can't tell you. And he was like, why not? And I was like, because you won't believe me. He was like, what do you mean? And I told him. And my mom came in the room and she was like, what's wrong? And I didn't want to tell her because if my dad didn't believe me, why would my mom believe me? So it was something I just told him, and then it's like never brought up ever again because it's not a topic anyone touches upon. I feel like it's not something a lot of people know, and a lot of people will know about me because it's not something like, oh, hey, I'm Vanya. I was sexually abused when I was a young kid. It's just something that really close friends know, or family, and not even then. Like, I know a lot of my friends, good friends, who don't know this side of me. It does define me. I can't change what happened. I can just move on, accept and move on, and just continue to love myself at the end of the day. Because as much as it's hard to come to terms with what's happened to you, you have to come to terms with it sooner or later so you can move on in life. Like seeing my cousins now, like laughing and living their lives with no sort of remorse in their face hurts. It's quite painful. They just go on about their lives. The first time, my guy cousin, he's now in the Marines, and he looks like he's doing fine. He looks like he's doing okay. Like his life is perfect the way he wants it to be. He's doing what he wants, and I'm happy for him, but I'm the one here. I'm the one crying. It's not something he probably thinks about. It's probably something stupid. I can't really look at him in the face. It's upsetting to know that I'm here and they're just doing their thing and they're laughing and they're smiling, and I can be in bed crying at the same time because of the same thing, and I can just look at it as a joke sometimes and be like, oh, I wasn't thinking at that point in life. It's upsetting, and it hurts. It's one of the hardest things to come to terms with. Believe people when they tell you that something this serious. No one lies about things like this, or they shouldn't be lied about. It's not something you should joke about with your friends. Oh, let's make a rape joke. No, because in the end, you don't know who's been sexually abused or raped, or who's been touched, or who's been harmed. You don't know their backstory. There should never be a rape joke said. There should never be a joke said about how it's a woman's fault. It's never a woman's fault. People are always saying that women tempt them or that they were dressed inappropriately. But I mean, what are women supposed to wear nowadays? Are they supposed to be dressed in like sweatpants and hoodies and sneakers and covered up their faces so you can't see them? A woman should never be ashamed of their body or their face or any part of them. If a man can't control himself, that's the man's problem, and that should never be the victim's fault. Education is one of the most important things I would say about this, because if you don't educate people on why it happens and why they should be stopped and why we should believe people and why we should investigate in these cases, then we're not going to get anywhere as a society. We need to know why these things happen. We need to come to terms with it. We need to realize these things happen, and although it's unfortunate, it's something we need to accept, and we need to accept every person who goes through something like this. I want to let children know that even though these things happen, and they might happen to a child next to me, that you can still overcome this no matter what. You can't just let your past hold you from completing the things you want to do in life. The only thing that's left to do is to accept and grow and just respect yourself and educate people about the hardships that people face sometimes, and that rape jokes aren't funny, that it's not the victim's fault, and you should just be aware of what you say, because you never know who's around you and who's faced those similar experiences around you. I've had situations where my friends have said a rape joke and it's just not funny. It's like they'll ask, why am I not laughing? It's not funny. It's not something you laugh at because someone gets raped. It's not. Today I see myself as a strong woman. And although I am only 18, I guess you can consider me a young lady still. But I respect myself a lot more, and I don't do the things I used to do. Being sexually abused does not define who I am as a person. It's not something that reflects who I am today.